The internet is not slowing down when it comes to the ever-evolving Hockey Canada scandal. 5 players from Canada's 2018 World Junior Hockey team are expected to plead not guilty to charges stemming from an alleged sexual assault. At this hour, there is still been no official statement from either the NHL or Hockey Canada when it comes to these charges. Calgary Flames forward Dylan Dubé.
So it's nice to see the bench was positive today. There's a lot of energy. And
Philadelphia Flyers goaltender Carter Hart.
I think the team battled right to the end. And
New Jersey Devils forward Michael McLeod.
Yeah, we had an awesome regular season, and it was a great playoff run there. And
defenseman Cal Foote.
Our job is to, break pucks out and make sure we play in their end, not ours.
4 NHL players who are now formally charged with sexual assault. Alex Fermenton, a former Ottawa Senators forward who has been playing in Switzerland, surrendered to police in London, Ontario on Sunday. His lawyer confirmed that he has been charged in connection with the case and said the player would plead not guilty. The accused players have all been allowed to go on indefinite leave from their pro clubs. On January 21st, the Calgary Flames first announced Dubé's absence, saying that he is attending to his mental health and is under the care of health professionals. But it was quickly reported that the Flames forward was facing sexual assault charges.
I know Dylan took his leave on Sunday for mental health reasons, is what the team is saying. Do you have any comment in regards to that and what may, if any, conversations you had with Dylan leading up to Sunday?
Yeah, I saw the reports this morning just like everybody else, but I don't have any information on it at all. I'm sorry about that.
And then a week after those remarks, a new statement by the team viewed millions of times on X. We have now become aware of the charge of sexual assault that has been laid against Dylan Dubé. We take this matter very seriously because the matter is now pending legal proceedings. We will have no further comment at this time. But they did add this last line. We had no knowledge of pending charges at the time Dylan's request for a leave of absence was granted.
We will respond appropriately when the outcomes of the investigations are made public.
The Philadelphia Flyers general manager saying last week that he hasn't been in touch with Carter Hart and doesn't have a timeline for what happens next.
The NHL has been very clear that teams should refer all investigation-related questions to them. In the meantime, members of the organization, including Flyers players, will not be commenting any further.
The NHL has yet to make a statement, but we know the collective bargaining agreement between the league and the National Hockey League Players Association grants Commissioner Gary Bettman the power to suspend any player under criminal investigation. It's still unclear how the NHL will handle these allegations.
Here comes Formanton. Alex Formanton in, shoots, scores! Alex Formanton! And it's 3-1 Canada!
According to court documents, the woman, then 20, alleged that a man identified only as John Doe number 1 took her from a bar to a hotel room and invited 7 other people into the room to perform undisclosed sexual acts, intimidating her and preventing her from leaving. The woman said in the lawsuit that the men directed her to take a shower and asked her to say on video that she was sober. The woman initially sought $3.55 million in damages, but dropped the lawsuit after settling with Hockey Canada. The incident allegedly occurring following a Hockey Canada gala where the players were honored for their victory at the 2018 World Junior Tournament. None of the allegations have been proven in court. We're joined now by criminal defense attorney Monte McGregor to break down how this trial might just unfold. Monte, with all of the players officially charged by London police, what's next?
Well, they all would have been released on their own undertakings because they likely have no prior criminal record. And with an allegation like this, a lot of time it's a he said, she said. So the evidence against the case warrants their release until their trial. So they're allowed to communicate or live in the community. And engage in their normal life until the trial concludes, which may be a couple of years from now, given the complexity and nature of the charges.
How will this proceed in court? Will all of the players be tried in the same case?
My expectation is that they'll all be tried together, typically with a sexual assault case. Because of the trauma associated with the complainant having to testify, usually the prosecution who makes the determination about whether or not to try people together or separately will likely only want to do this once. I can envision that all 5 of the individuals will be tried at the same time, and Given that, I envision that it'll be in the Superior Court of Justice, very likely with a sex assault trial, as opposed to having a judge alone. They will want a jury of their peers, 12 individuals from the London community, to decide the outcome.
Now, what sort of jail time do these men face if found guilty of sexual assault?
If they're found guilty of sexual assault, there's a couple of key components to this. We don't know the age of the complainant at this time. They try to protect the identity of the complainant to ensure that her integrity is intact, that she's got a degree of privacy, given how difficult it is, again, to bring a sex assault case before the court. So because of that, if typically under a sex assault conviction, you can get a maximum penalty of 10 years, unless, of course, the complainant, the victim, is less than 16 years of age, then you can get a 14-year sentence. Now, does that mean they'll get 10 or 14 years? Not likely. It depends on a lot of factors when it comes to sentencing, mostly about the degree of participation, the nature of the offense itself. So was a person having sexual intercourse with the victim and found guilty? That will drive the sentence up, as opposed to somebody that just aided or assisted by potentially keeping her locked in the room. So a lot of factors go into play there, but it definitively warrants jail sentences if they're convicted of sex assault.
And how long will it take for this trial to begin? I mean, you hinted that it could take a while. So in the meantime, do you suspect that these players will return to their clubs?
With a jury trial in the Superior Court of Justice, resources are always an issue. I would envision that this doesn't start at the earliest, maybe 18 months, but likely 2 years. And it's a complex case. There are a lot of barriers in place to protect complainants or victims of sex assault in court. It's unlike any other allegation or charge, because the government wanted to step in. People were afraid to bring these cases to court. So because of that, a whole bunch of barriers have been put in place. That means there's lots of pretrial motions about issues that could be raised at the trial that need to be adjudicated in advance to determine whether or not certain evidence will go before the court. So I expect it will take at least 18 months, potentially more, 2 to 3 years even, before it's concluded. And as far as whether or not they can return to the life, that's the determination, I think, for the NHL and the hockey teams individually that they play for. They should be entitled to return to those careers. The question is whether or not the public image and the stigma associated with being charged with a sexual offense warrants those teams taking those players back. I can't answer that question. That's up to the individuals. It's clear that the court of public opinion will already rule on these individuals just for being charged.
And we'll see what the NHL has to say during their press conference scheduled for the weekend. Finally, Monte, what factor, if any, will the civil settlement play in this criminal case?
The civil case could play out because if the witnesses testified already or provided disclosure or information before, that could come into play in the criminal case. And then the question is, who signed off on the agreement? Was it merely Hockey Canada? Was it each of the individual participants? Who was named in that lawsuit? So it will be a very significant factor, or could play a significant role. I know if I'm a defense lawyer trying to defend these individuals, the one thing that I do look at is that that's a key motive to fabricate, to try and attack the victim of the complaint and say, you can't be believed, you did this because of this civil lawsuit. That was one of the benefits for bringing this allegation forward.
Monte, thank you for sharing your legal insights with us tonight on Trending Now.
Excellent. Thanks for having me.